Hi, this is Mark Maclaine. This is a video on factorising quadratics. Now, factorising means putting brackets back in. So what I'm actually going to do is start with a question where we're going to expand out the brackets. So let's have a look at this. Say, for example, I had x times x here. That'll be x squared. And then x times positive 3 or plus 3. That'll be plus 3x. Positive 2 times a positive x will give us positive 2x. And a positive 2 times a positive 3 will give us positive 6. Now this will simplify down to give us this quadratic. Okay, so 5x plus 6, because remember you can only add the x's, not the x squareds. Now this here is a quadratic. You can recognize it because it will have an x squared, an x, and a number. Now, if you're asked to factorize this quadratic, it means put the brackets in. So essentially what we're actually going to do is end up with this that we have at the top there. Okay, so how do we get this thing that we have at the top here? Well, how we do it is this. What I often do is I put the two brackets that I'm going to end up with. So if we're going to end up with x plus 2, x plus 3, if we do this correctly. So I put the two brackets at the bottom to remind myself. Now, I know that one of them, there we go, there'll be an x in each of those. Now I know that because x times x makes the x squared here. So how I do this to remind myself is I write my x squared here plus my 5x plus my 6. And I say that the first two values, these x's, will multiply to make this x squared here. The numbers that will go on the end will also multiply to make the 6 here. We could see this from the question above because positive 2 times positive 3 gave us the positive 6 here. Okay, so that's the outsides are multiplied. Now, the number in the middle has been added because I don't know if you can remember this just a second ago. We had x plus 3, 3x plus 2x. And that made 5x. Now the way I sort of remember it's this rather silly thing here. I do my plus here and go up, and I've got a little smiley face here. He's doing jazz hands, and we can see these sort of jazz hands just here. Now it's a rather silly way of remembering it, but that's how I do it. Okay, so we're trying to find a number that multiplies, two numbers that multiply to make 6. So what I do is I write 6 here, and it's positive 6. So that will either be 1 times 6 or negative 1 times negative 6. The other factors of 6 that allow us to make 6 would be 2 and 3 or negative 2 times negative 3. And remember that a negative times a negative is the same as a positive. So it could be any one of those. Okay, right. So those are our factors of 6. Now do any of those add up to make positive 5? The answer is 2 and 3, positive 2 and positive 3, because they're adding to make positive 5. So those are our two numbers. So I place them in here. I've got 2 and 3. And as we correctly said there, they are both positive. So that is our brackets x plus 2, x plus 3. And if we expand that out as we did at the top here, we can see that that is the correct answer. Now, what happens if we factorize quadratics that don't have just an x squared? They have a number in front of them. Well, I'll give you an example of a pair of brackets that would give us and not just an x squared, but a number in front of it. So let's have a look at this. What we've got is 2x times x would give us 2x squared here. And then we've got 2x times plus 4, okay, which will give us plus 8x, and then we'd have 3 times x, and that's positive, plus 3x, and plus 3 times plus 4 gives us a positive 12 here. Okay, and again, these two would simplify to give us 2x squared plus 11x plus 12. Now, in fact, you wouldn't get the top part of the question, you'll just get this. This would be your question. Then they'd ask us to factorize that. Now, essentially, we're going to end up with, if we do it correctly, these two brackets at the top. But how do we get there? Well, the first thing we do is we multiply our a and our c. Now, what do I mean by our a and our c? Well, the value in front of the x squared is our a, the value in front of the x is our b, and the number on its own is our c here. Okay, so in this case, a would be 2, b would be 11, and c would be 12. Note the signs in front of them, none of them are negative. Now, what we do is we multiply our a and our c. Okay, so we do A times C. So that is 2 times 12, which would be 24. Now we find the factors of 24. So they would be 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8. 4 does go into 24, which is 6. 5 doesn't, and 6 does, but we've already done 4 and 6, so we know that we've got all the factors of 24, because as soon as there's a repetition, we know we've done all of them. Now, do any of these add together to make the B, the 11 in the center? Now remember, they could also be negative. In this case, since B is positive, and remember, they could both be negative, so they could be -1 and -24 and -2 and -12. But I've just written the positive values, and here we go. I can see that 3 and 8 add together. There you go, 3 and 8 add together to make the 11, which is the B in the center. So what I do now, this is the slightly different part from when you don't have something in front of the x, when it's just x squared, but this is what we do. We write 2x squared here from the first part of the quadratic, and we write the plus 12 here. Now what we do is we split our 11 into those two values, okay? And so we write them here. So that's plus, but we put an x in front of them, okay? So that 11x is splitting into 3x plus 8x there. Okay, now the next step we have to do is factorize both of these parts. So we factorize this one, and we factorize this one separately from each other. So if you're happy with factorizing, we can see that 2x squared, the only thing that they have in common is x. Okay, so that would then give us 2x plus 3. There, terrible 3. And for the next one, there we go. If we factorize 8x and 12, we can see both of those would divide by 4. So we take the 4 outside the brackets, and what we're left with in the center is 2x plus, not 6, there we go, plus 3. There we go, perfect. Now, this repeated bracket here becomes our first one, so that is 2x plus 3. I mean, it could be the second, doesn't matter too much. And then this x plus 4 here becomes our second bracket. And you can see this if we have a look at the question that we looked at right before, even before the question, you can see that it would expand out that way. Now, by the way, if you, for example, didn't put the 3 first and put the 8 second, it doesn't actually matter. Let me show you. So what you've got is, say for example, you'd written your 2x squared and your 12 here. And instead of writing the 3 first, we'd put 8x. And instead of writing, yeah, there we go, and then we'd written 3x here, the same thing happens. All we have to do is factorize this, and we'll actually end up with the same answer. Have a look at this, 2x squared and 8x will be factorized to have 2 outside the brackets, and inside the brackets we would have x plus 4, and then this second pair of brackets could be factorized by 3. You can only take 3 outside from both of those, and that would be x plus 4. And note the repetition of the x plus 4 and the x plus 4. So we have our x plus 4 here, and then outside we've got the 2x plus 3. And hopefully you can see that this one here and this one here are the same thing, because it doesn't matter which order you put the brackets in. So let's have a look at one final example. So with both examples before, I started off with what the brackets were that we expanded. In fact, in actual GCSE, you wouldn't be given those. So what would we do? Well, the first thing to do is identify our A, our B, and our C. And in this case, our A would be 3, our B would be negative 25, and our C would be positive 52. Now, I don't actually have to write the positive in front of that, but it's 52. Now, what we do is we multiply our A with our C. So this is sometimes called our AC method. So AC in this case will be 3 times 52, which is 156. Okay, so it's 156. Now, what we then do is we try and find all our factors of 156 and see if any of those will add together to make minus 25. Now, instead of going through all of them for this example, I'll go through a few of them. This is a pretty horrible question, but I thought it'd be good to go through. We've got 6 and 36 would both, but so would negative 6 and negative 36 would both make 156. Another one would be 12 and 13, and of course negative 12 and negative 13. Now we're looking for something that makes minus 25, okay? So we make negative 25, and hopefully you guys will see that minus 12 add minus 13 will go all the way down to minus 25. So again, just like with the last example, we write 3x squared here and we write our 52 here. I know my 5 sometimes look like S's, apologies for that. Okay, then what we do is we split our negative 25 into our two values here. Now remember, for the previous question, it doesn't actually matter what order you end up with, which is really useful. So I'm going to put my minus 12 here, just simply because I had it first there, and minus 13x here, because it was second. So now the final part of the question is we need to factorize this one and we need to factorize this one here. So is there anything that I can divide both 3x squared and 12x by? Yes, that is 3x. So I've got 3x. Of course, that will just leave x minus 4 on the inside. And then my question is there anything that I can divide both 13 and 52 by, so 13x and 52 by? In fact, they are both divisible by 13. Okay, so that will be, there we go, minus 13 outside the brackets. And what I'm left with is x and inside the bracket minus 4. Because 13 times 4 is 52. Now, again, these are pretty hard numbers and they require a bit of thought, but I wanted to show you quite a hard example here. Great, now, so what we've got here is this repeated brackets will become x minus 4, and then these numbers on the outside, this 3x minus 13, becomes our other bracket here. Okay, so the answer to this question is x minus 4, 3x minus 13. And again, it doesn't matter which order you put those in. And then, of course, the best thing to do, especially if it's your actual exam, is to expand these brackets out to double check. So let's just do a double check. X times 3x gives us 3x squared. X times minus 13 will be minus 13x. Minus 4 times 3x will give us, there we go, minus 12x. Excuse the mistake. And then minus 4 times minus 13 will give us positive 52. And so what we've got is 3x squared minus 25x plus 52. And indeed, that does match the original question. So we know we got it right.